welcome to Go Green. I'm Sonia, and today we're at Pamela's talking about outside installation. Welcome, Pamela.
Hi.
Thank you so much for giving us a tour of your beautiful home in the middle of Tottenham. We're here to talk about green initiatives and, more importantly, money-saving activities.
Yeah, so I deliberately chose this house because I knew that it needed a lot of work doing to it. And if you're going to be doing building work, that's the ideal time to put in green improvements, because some of them require a lot of work and disruption. So if you can get it all done in one fell swoop, that's all to the good. So I wanted the inside of the house to be remodelled. So at the same time, I decided I would insulate the outside of the house. You lose something like 10 to 20% of your heat through the walls of your house. And houses like this that were built before the 1920s didn't have cavity walls. So cavity wall houses have two lots of bricks with an airspace in between, and you can insulate that airspace. But this house doesn't have that. So the walls lose a lot of heat, and you can insulate them on the inside, but that obviously takes space from inside the house. Or you can have panels put on the outside of the house. Now, you can have panels that are made of plastics and things like that, but I decided to go for wood fibre.
Okay, so that's exactly what we want to talk about, your outside insulation, which, as you just said, is made from wood fibre. Is that an eco product?
Yes, because it's made from trees, and you're basically locking up that carbon in that product. So this is what I put on the outside of the house, not me personally. So the builders drill holes through it and fix it with big screws, I suppose, into the brickwork. And then obviously it's coated on the outside to make it weatherproof. But this is breathable in the sense that it will let water vapour through. So you're less likely to get problems with damp with a natural product like this.
So what happens to the fibre if it gets wet? Because it's on the out, it's an exterior addition. So what's the process there?
Well, it shouldn't get wet because, as I say, it's finished off with a render, and you avoid putting anything through it, if you like. So that's one of the disadvantages of external wall insulation. You can't put up lights or canopies or hanging baskets or anything like that because you don't want to do anything that will go into the wood fibre, but it should stay dry.
And what's the benefit when you actually had that installed? What's the benefit to the home?
Well, it really reduces your heat loss, and it absorbs heat during the summer and stores it for you over the winter. So it really, really cuts down your heating bills.
So something like outside exterior insulation, is it possible that could be achieved through a green grant from the government?
Yes, the new Green Homes grant will provide money towards having insulation put in. And I would strongly recommend that, before you do anything exciting or high-tech, you really think about insulation. You perhaps put more loft insulation in, because that should be 27 centimetres deep, your loft insulation, or you think about wall insulation, because the fabric of the house is what really counts.
And what about workmanship? Do we need skilled or particular specialists for this type of work? Because that's one of the issues when we're talking about building green or otherwise.
Yeah. Well, external wall insulation is definitely not a DIY job. You've got to have it done by people who know what they're doing, because you must not have any what they call thermal bridges, places where the cold can get in and out. And obviously you have to be careful about ventilation. So internal wall insulation you can do yourself, but I wouldn't recommend it personally. Better to get an expert.
And roughly how long did it take for the work to be completed?
Well, to put up the wall insulation probably only took, I don't know, a couple of weeks. But the whole work on the house took 6 months.
And you have designed a beautiful home which is eco-efficient. So what other tricks can you tell us that have made your home eco and green efficient?
Okay, so all the windows and the door are triple glazed, so there's 3 layers to each unit, and it's totally sealed, so there's no draft, and the heat loss from the windows is cut down by a lot. I don't have a space under my floor, but there are no drafts through the floor, so that was a concrete floor with wood put on top of it. I have an air source heat pump which heats my water, and that takes heat out of the air from a panel on the outside wall of the house. And I've got solar panels.
There we are. So the solar panels is something I was just about to come on to. So do you recommend solar panels to people starting up with a home?
Well, if your home is well insulated and you have some spare cash, I would consider it. It can reduce your your electricity bills by quite a lot. But also, I think it encourages people to take other measures, if you like, to think about their energy use. But if you're out all day, then maybe it's not the first thing I would spend my money on.
Okay, thank you, Pamela. But before we go, I wanted to ask you a little bit more about the government green grant. Can you just tell us a little bit about how people can make an application for that?
Okay, so this is a new scheme that the government are just bringing in. It's just starting this month, September 2020. It's all going to be done online. So you go to the Green Grant website, and then there will be something called the Simple Energy Advice site. And you'll have to fill in a few details then about your house. But every homeowner is eligible for this grant, and every landlord. And some houses, if they're claiming benefits, can be eligible up to £10,000. So the way it's going to work is that you'll be recommended some installers in your area who are qualified to do the work that they've undertaken. And there'll be a voucher scheme, so that's how it's going to work. But yeah, go to the Green Home Grants website.
And after the work, is there any sort of certification or anything that people received after work? Because this all sounds very elaborate, but what proof do people ask for?
Well, you will presumably from the installers get some paperwork to demonstrate what they've done. But in this country, the way we measure the energy efficiency of houses is through something called the Energy Performance Certificate. And if you're selling your house, then you have to have an energy performance certificate. You have to pay to have them done. There are qualified people to do it. You can just look them up on the web. A cost of a certificate is, I think, about £50. But that gives you a rough idea of how energy efficient your house is. So it's a scale. It goes from A to G. G is very, very low. A is the best. Very hard to get to A unless you're a new build. But for instance, most public buildings have to have an energy performance certificate, and they should display in their entrance hall a graph showing where they are on that scale. So have a look out for them.
But I must say, it's fantastic news that you've managed to go from a G to a B in a very short space of time. Pamela, now we're in the kitchen, an area where lots of energy use takes place.
Okay, so I can't really compare before and after in this house because the house was in such a terrible state when I moved in that it was very cold and used masses of energy. But since I've had all the insulation work done and had my solar panels installed, I generate as much electricity as I buy off the grid every year. So basically the two things cancel out.
So we've got not only an environmental impact, we also have money-saving activities.
Yeah, my energy bills are pretty low. I don't have gas in this house, actually. I should have said that. I had the gas cut off because I decided that was the right thing to do from the environmental point of view. So all my heating is electric, but my electricity bills are very low. So,
And you mentioned earlier, well, obviously saving money, you would not do your cooking at night or your washing at night because...
oh yes, so if you've got solar panels and you're generating your own electricity, obviously you want to use as much of that as you can. You don't want to send it off to the grid. So my washing machine I run during the daytime, and I do as much cooking as I can during the daytime.
That's fantastic. So let's go and have a look at the garden.
It was the old Anderson air raid shelter. So I dug it out and have made it into a pond.
So you've definitely upcycled that then?
I have upcycled the air raid shelter, yes.
Okay, so let's have a little walk and see what else we have in the garden.
Yeah, okay. So along the back fence we've got a wildlife hedge planted with native and so it's got a hawthorn, hazel, elderflower, and of course underneath it so the grass is allowed to grow long, so that's good for wildlife, insect. In the front I've got a little wildflower meadow. It's not working brilliantly at the moment, but I'm working on it, so you know.
So talk to me about the solar panels I can see.
Okay, so I've got 8 solar panels, 4 on the front of the house which face east and 4 on the back which face west. So in the summer they generate electricity from about 5 o'clock in the morning till 9 o'clock at night. So I lose a little bit of sun midday as the sun comes around the house, but that works pretty well for me. Yeah.
Well, it's excellent. I mean, the house has got a wonderful look and a wonderful feel.
Yes, it works for me. I'm really pleased with it. It was what I wanted for my retirement, and it's been very successful.
Wow. So, Pamela, I'm going to ask you for a very quick green tip for Go Green.
Oh, okay. So my green tip concerns clothes. Look, if we wear our clothes just double the time we keep them at the moment, it will really, really reduce carbon emissions. So mend, make do.
Mend and make do. Thank you so much, Pamela, for being part of Go Green.